My father, whose name I will not record here, for I do not wish it learned, did not die a dignified or honorable death. A criminal and a thief and a liar, who at that time identified himself as Krem and claimed the Yellow Hills as his place of origin, stabbed him through with a coppice blade. Krem had come upon our rock farm the day before, requesting shelter and a meal, which he was granted by my kind and godly family. After he woke in the morning, he got into words with my father on the subject of our new king. These words were ended when Krem unsheathed his weapon. My dear father was unarmed. It vexed me at the time that Krem left his blade within the body, for in truth it was a finely crafted sword, worthy, I would think, of even the knights of the old mist. I can testify that it was not lodged so deep within the chest cavity that it could not be removed with alacrity even in the moment of murder. If a child, which I was at the time despite my many protests to the contrary, could claim the weapon with a simple tug, what was it that prevented Krem from rescuing it? I had meant to ask him, and even had the question on my tongue when Supergirl and I eventually found the filthy man, and he was begging for his life with tears in his eyes. But Supergirl delivered the fatal blow, and Krem fell dead to the ground before I could get it out. And so it remains a mystery to this day. But I am riding ahead of myself, as I tend to do, but should not. Allow me, then, to continue on the more traditional path of storytelling, to better illuminate our beginnings in order that you might understand our ends. I am blessed by Crying Anne, with 6 brothers, all of whom are elder to me. And that evening at Anne's feast, they were all yelling mad at one another, each one with a plan of vengeance. But having spent enough of my days watching pigs squabble over their own castles of mud, I knew what was show and what was not. It was a noble sort of bluster, but nonetheless each of them understood the outcome before a voice had been raised. Krem of the Yellow Hills was likely a king's agent sent here to test us, for even in the plains where the king is loved, there may be doubters. As our cherished father had aptly demonstrated, offending a king's agent was the start of a quick journey to the grave. Better to whine and buck at the farm than to leave and have your head spiked. So whine and buck they did. And when they were done, all agreed that everything should be left to the divine. They would stay here and tend to the rocks. I, however... "And may I ask where you are going in the midst of the fine moonlight, Ruthie, my darling one?" "I did not expect to see you, Mother. I hope that the death of my father has not caused you poor dreams." "You are mighty young to be seeking through the world hoping for blood. Maybe you should listen to your brothers and sit and wait for amends to come." If I was going to sit and wait for the impossible, I'd sit and wait for Daddy to rise up from our good sod and hold me once again. But I am not inclined in that direction. "Well, take your late father's mount. He's an ornery one, and I don't feel like caring for him. I got enough troubles." I confess, I had not ever left the confines of our hearth before, and I would have expected to be full of fear and caution that night. But in truth, all that existed within me was anger. An anger at the 1,000 fates for allowing Krem to kill my father, and an anger at myself for not yet having brought that degenerate scruff to his knees.
"So, you've tracked a king's agent across the plains to here, to the Whale Tower, and you need someone to tote you over those mighty barricades and help you kill the poor ox. Even if it was feasible, wouldn't be cheap."
"I did not come to you because I thought you would be cheap. I came to you, sir, because good folks tell me you are the most ruthless bounty inside the city walls, and I have need of a ruthless man. See here, if you examine this sword, you will find it of high quality and worth. As I have traveled, many well-practiced smiths have offered me the sky for it, but I have no need for the sky."
"No, you have need for a ruthless man."
"The blade will be provided to you when I witness the death of Krem of the Yellow Hills. Whether that is to your satisfaction or not, I would appreciate a reply as rapidly as you are able, for every moment that passes that Krem breathes the air above pains me, like a wound that will not heal."
"Then let us say it is agreed, but not exactly on your terms, child. I will take the weapon. It is quite lovely. And I will get your man by my word. You'll return home, glad in the knowing that your wound has been seen by an expert and treated with both compassion and grace.
Sir, you are unintelligibly mistaken in presuming an invite to a negotiation when no such offer has been proffered. If you return my sword, I will explain to you the need for the specifics of my proposal and why compromise is entirely unworkable.
From your speaking, I see you're well educated for a young one from the plains. But let me give you one additional, rather vital lesson that perhaps your teachers have not yet covered. Please, listen close. Now, remember that. And don't worry none while you're remembering. Your king's agent will suffer at my feet.
Wait, stop.
By Zor-El! Have I been uninformed? Is today the festival of impertinent females? Remove your hand or I shall remove your fingers.
What? No, just stop for a second. Look, I'm going to take the sword and give it back to this, her. And you just go away, okay? And we won't fight because it's my birthday.
I have neither time nor patience for foolery. If you have gods, perhaps take a moment to express your respect for their benevolence, as you shall soon be meeting them eye to eye.
Don't be mad. I'm 21 now. Official. Which means it's okay. That's the truth and the justice and the American way.
You have had your warning.
No, don't do that. That's stupid.
Now I shall have your blood!
Shit, you're still doing it. Stop, just wait a minute. God, please.
A surrender! Wise! Perhaps you do not wish to greet your lords this day.
No. I just don't want you to waste any of this stuff you got. Because I don't have any more of your weird coins. And I don't steal because it's wrong. Even if it's my birthday and I deserve it.
What is this madness?
Okay, it's done. You can keep going, but it's probably going to hurt. You.
You dare!
Ow, shit! Oh, forgot the stupid red sun. I have to hurt too.
Ha! That is only the beginning of your pain, for I will not be turned buffoon by some woman.
Shit. You speak often of this shit, especially when your agony becomes acute. This is your husband? I'm going to throw up. Sorry. You may give it your best effort, but it seems to me you must have expurgated any foodstuffs you had been carrying by now. I wasn't wearing this. You're not supposed to see it. Though I have been raised in the company of 6 brothers, I am not unaccustomed to other women's undergarments, though I concede yours are certainly unique in their color and ornament. Here, I have cleaned the floor enough. Wait, who are you? I am Ruthie Marie Knoll, and I am witness to your skill and bravery. I would like to hire you to kill Krem of the Yellow Hills, the cheating king's agent who slew my father and left him in the dirt. Have you interest in such an arrangement? Shit! Please, take your time. I can wait. Perhaps you do not understand the worth of the weapon, though I would hope the bounty's interest in procuring it through ignoble means would be evidence enough. I'm sure it's very nice. Where I'm from, I don't need swords, sorry. Pish and posh, everyone needs a sword. I once saw my virtuous father attacked by a 6-legged monogriff. Had he not had his sword, he would not long have had his life. Sweetie, you're very persuasive, I'm sure, but you should work on someone else. I'm not staying here. It was my birthday. I needed a red. I came here to drink. I did. Now I'm going home. People need me there, and not as a hunter or whatever. Goodbye. Best of luck. Don't kill people. It's bad. Had I let her go, our lives would have gone on their separate and unique paths with little consideration for the other. Supergirl would undoubtedly have returned to her prodigious adventures, protecting those in need as she lived up to her own well-earned values. And I would have continued in my hunt for the damnable creme of the Yellow Hills, eventually confronting him face to face, where, based upon my later experiences, I do wager he would have taken my life and danced with great mirth over my fallen body. Had I let her go. Which I did not. As I went, I could feel the jawbones nipping at my skin, testing and tasting. Fortunately, they are a fearful lot this close to shore, and my motion in the swim was enough to convince them to hold off a swarm. Tuckered out, I'd be an easier meal, which was all the motivation I needed to keep my arms and legs pumping. The most cumbersome obstacle was Krem's sword hanging heavy from my belt, dragging against the sea as I pushed forward. I was tempted on a number of occasions to release the weapon and allow it to descend peacefully into the deep blue, but I managed to remind myself each time that it held my father's last blood, and the seafloor was not its capping destination. Eventually and thankfully, I reached the shore. The burn and scratch of the sand on my feet felt like a baptism, and I welcomed it as a babe welcomes the smile of a kindly priest. Now I am quiet, but I am not silent. Under a yellow sun, Supergirl surely would have heard me coming and begged me off. But at that time, she was deprived of the senses that provoke envy among gods, and I was able to track her back to what I can only describe as the indescribable. What are you doing here? You're not supposed to... I've already started the auto launch. You have to move away or you could really get hurt. Ruthie, are you listening? Ruthie? My apologies. I am perplexed by the machine from which you have emerged just now while again clothed in your undergarments. This is... I'm not from here. It's like a horse I ride to get home. And this is what I wear, out there. And you have to leave because the horse is going already and it kicks when it finally goes. And I don't want you to get kicked, okay? Ruthie, I'm sorry. I've got to go. And you do too, okay? My name is Ruthie Marie Knoll. I would like to hire you to kill Krem of the Yellow Hills, the cheating king's agent who slew my father and left him in the dirt. Have you interest in such an arrangement? You seem like a very nice girl, but I can't go with you to go off and kill someone. You don't know this about me, but I have a job, a very responsible job that I need to go back home to do. And the first rule of that job just happens to be, don't kill people. Look, I understand your anger. It's hard to lose somebody, but you have to look for justice, not vengeance. You know, it's like my mother said, life is about compassion, not fury. You understand. You don't understand a damned thing. I didn't lose somebody. I lost my blessed father who was my heart. I will never see him again, not on my bridal day or any other. He's gone. All that flighty talk of compassion and fury, that's dandy if you're living on ground you know will stand solid. But I lost my world. Now, understand I didn't know the history then. I knew nothing about her growing up on a planet with friends and relations and seeing all of it go to dust. Shit. I came here on my fucking birthday so I wouldn't have to always think about. I didn't know that she had lost everything only to gain invulnerability. But to be honest, I didn't know a lot back then. As it were.
A fine shot, Krem. Worthy of the Trey's assault on Miasma. Bounty tells me you're hiring people to kill me, girl. I have paid him well to help me find you, so that I might register my objections to your efforts.
That poor dog just followed his base instincts like we all do in times of unexpected strife. He didn't figure he was under a red sun. He was just trying to bite a bad man. He had no idea that the arrow would do him any harm at all. Krypto!
I thought I had her on the first shot. Could have sworn. Ah, well.
Arrows? Swords and arrows?
Do you think she has any idea of the cost of this equipment? By soul, I pray that there is coin in her body.
Don't you even know who I am? I'm Supergirl. Do you think I give a shit about swords and arrows? I was not as uninitiated to battles as you might assume, due to my youth and the gentle reputation of my gender. There were thieves and robbers on the plain, and I saw them scrap mightily with my dear father and brothers. I've seen many a time when two men were convinced only one of them would emerge from their baneful conflagration. But until that day, I never saw anyone so unafraid of death that they understood in their heart and belly a simple and perfect truth. There was no one alive stronger than they. Which is why it did not surprise me when Krem ran. Any man would have. Though she was torn with pain, I think Supergirl would have followed if Krypto hadn't let out that whine. She could not leave him alone. I myself tried to stop the cretin. I am sorry to say it had little effect on his progress. He was staunchly determined to get in that ship, probably just figuring to find shelter somewhere to knock his arrows and start up shooting again, not knowing that the great machine was already started. And that Krem of the Yellow Hills, killer of men, women, and dogs, was about to escape my clutches and flee into the stars. The rock farm on which I was born, weaned, and raised was not by any measure a well-perfumed environment. Between the animals and my 60 brothers, a fusty bouquet of dung and sweat often sat heavily in the air. Excuse me. Bathing was once a harvest day affair, with all 7 of us taking turns, going one after another into the same small rusted cistern. Being the youngest of the brood, I went last into the water, which was brick brown by the time I entered its chilly depths. In terms of cleanliness, the results of such a routine were often mixed at best. Sir, excuse me. Once a year, my treasured father would take us into the city for high prayer, and we would giggle at the pampered city folk tucking their noses as our family passed. They were unaccustomed to the musk of authentic work, we'd say, noting with some gratification how our stench marked us as the rooted heart of our Kingsland. Please, sir. All of which is to say that when I inform you that I could not long tolerate the putrid smell of that hall fairy, I am not contrasting it to a spoiled childhood awash with rosed lather. Sir!
What?
Sir, I am embarked upon a long and tumultuous journey, the result of which will be the worthy death of an unworthy man. As the first steps in this great endeavor, I have purchased passage upon this seasoned but sturdy vessel, and it is my understanding that there is a certain amount of space that is guaranteed with said purchase. By placing your head uninvited upon my shoulder in the manner you have, you are obviously violating this guarantee. If you wish to challenge that premise, I am content to hear your arguments, but I would insist on you airing them straight away, as I feel I have already suffered through hours of needless discomfort, and I will stand it no more.
You're small. Are you tasty?
For the life of me, I cannot fathom how my size and piquancy have any relation to the disputed matter at hand. Though I do assure you that any attempt to consume me will result in your humiliated surrender. For I do not travel alone, but am accompanied in my vengeance quest by a warrior whose renown echoes from one side of the universe to the other. The Maid of Might, Supergirl, who is currently seated to your opposite side.
Who? Her?
I am not acquainted with your point of origin, so please forgive my possible misconception of your tone. However, my uninformed, though perhaps accurate impression is that you are unconcerned at the possibility of your thrashing at her hands. Let me assure you, then, that you have erred greatly, and perhaps, though not necessarily, fatally. That woman alongside her cousin, Superman, of whom you may have heard, is one of the last survivors of Krypton. As such, she is in possession of nearly inconceivable power. Moreover, she has lived a life of battle and woe that has forged her into a ferocious, unforgiving fighter. A challenge to me is a challenge to her, and thus a death knell to you, sir. So choose your next undertakings wisely, for they shall determine your fate upon this august plane of existence. My gratitude, sir. I would like to say I had some satisfaction from the exchange, but in truth, there was no grand victory to be had there. Though I do concede relief that he was no longer touching me, still, the smell associated either with him or with the entire vessel, I could at that time not swear to which it was, and had yet to discover it was both, remained. To distract myself from this ongoing olfactory assault, I let my thoughts drift to my then-favorite fantasy. I saw before me Krem of Yellow Hills on his knees, his hands clutched, begging my mercy, swearing upon the deathless stars that he had reached a moment of reformation. Were I to let him live, from that day to the end of days, he would serve only the good in the world. He would be a beacon of hope and virtue, and he would do it all in my sacred father's name, thus transforming one moment of tragedy into a legacy of 1,000 glories. And after he was done with his pleadings, I saw myself pressing my sword into his giving flesh. As Krem cried out in my dreams, the smell indeed faded somewhat, but not nearly enough to go unnoticed.
And Master Asteroid, 15 Zammits, stop. If you are not back on board in 15 Zammits, we will not wait for you.
Can you feel it, Ruthie? We're getting closer. The stars are changing.
15 Zammits, stop. If you miss the ride, next Alpharia is 40 light years behind this one.
Are they? They seem to me as they always were. Despite our many days of travel, they remain distant.
And Murph's Asteroid, 15 Zammits, stop. If you are not back on board in 15 Zammits, we will not wait for you.
Come on, let's get something to eat. It'll be a while before we stop again.
15 Zammits, stop. If you miss the ride, next Alpharia is 40 light years behind this one.
Not for the last time. I followed her faithfully. After that filthy ride, I did not feel even a mite peckish, but I recognized the need to repair and refresh before sojourning onward. So, how do you like space travel so far? Meet your expectations? It is preferable to sitting in the tall grass and waiting for age and disease to claim my sworn enemies. Beyond that caveat, I have not drawn any cheer from the situation. Sorry, it'll get better. It's more fun when you can fly. For that, I will trust your word.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, sir?
Monkey in back there says you're Supergirl. Are you really Supergirl? See, Superman put two of my brothers, Scott and Bart, in the Phantom Zone, and I swore revenge on him and his family from that day forward. So if you're Supergirl, I got to kill you.
Throughout the months of our travel, these types of encounters were neither infrequent nor particularly interesting. Well, let's see. Wherever we went, and it seems to me we went most of the places there are to go in this bewitching universe, there was some cantankerous fellow who had a problem at some juncture in his life with Superman. I'm wearing a big yellow S on my chest and a very fashionable red skirt. Naturally, being the pusillanimous types, for who else has such troubles, they hesitated in seeking direct retribution on the Man of Steel. However, when they came upon his distant cousin, their chests puffed up with eagerly renewed pluck. It's not hard to understand, really. They presumed her to be his soft underbelly. So, if I'm not Supergirl, and they were pining to grab a sharp spear and try to shove it into blood and gut, who the hell do you think I am? Now, I spent enough time around Supergirl to know her better than most, maybe better than all, if truth be told. So let me say with some manner of expertise that she was a woman of disparate qualities who bent her own sense of self to fit the situation, which is to say in a simple manner, it is true, she was many things to many people. But she was never soft. Going forward, I will omit the majority of these incidences for fear my prose would grow repetitive and thus stale. How many Zermits has it been? I proffer this one here only as an example of the form. I don't fancy to know what a Zermit is. I encourage you as you read on to imagine many more such examples between the pages marked here. Yeah, me neither. This will better fit the situation to which I bore witness all those years ago. So, we better get going.
My brothers!
When I was young and hopeful and assumed the world eternally just. Don't want to get stuck here. We continued on, and the weeks passed in much the same fashion. Our dual enemies of tedium and malodor were met each hour, and if not outright defeated, at least occasionally brought to bay. I must admit, betwixt the two of us, very little conversation was to be had. We knew our destination. We knew we were engaged in a test of endurance, and we did not wish to amplify the situation by commenting upon it, or at least that was my assumption at the time. Eventually, we became accustomed to the routine and were both shocked when during a stop at the Novix rest station, the driver paged Supergirl and begged for her help. "We're all going to die," he said with no intention of hyperbole. "It's a dragon."
"It's a Carpaean dragon. They patrol the West Galaxies eating anything metal, but these are the East Galaxies. They're not supposed to be in this sector this time of the year. I have driven this route 3 eons and never seen one, but all the same, we're going to die."
Bummer.
"But maybe, can't you do something super or whatever? Save the day?"
Yeah, well, problem is I just spent a lot of time on a planet with the wrong sun. I was there for my birthday, then my dog got shot. It's a whole story. But we haven't hit any good suns yet, so I'm not really charged, if that makes sense. Can't just fly out there and hit him.
"Oh, bummer."
All right, who's got reds? Don't be shy, I know you're here. We all know you're here. It's a westbound hall ferry, cheapest, slowest way around the cosmos. Everyone gets bored, everyone's got to pass the time. Come on, be brave. Stand up. There's a fucking space dragon outside, and this is our only chance of survival. And it's not all that great, to be honest.
I have some all legal. I have a prescription for galaxy-spanning journeys. They help me with my anxiety.
Super. Now they get to help me with mine. Red kryptonite encased in dissolvable lead. Most people take it, they get weird visions about transforming into things. Kryptonians take it, the visions come true. Is it safe? Sometimes you turn into a horrible monster. Sometimes your hair grows too long. It's safer than getting eaten by a dragon. I mean, on average. Did my hair move? I do not believe so. I am unlike the average farm folk on the plain. I had the fortune to have grown up lacking ignorance of the world's potential outside of my family's small plot. My benevolent father had been in the Sand Wars and traveled deep and wide. At evening's end, as my brothers suffered through their daily wrestlings, father'd load his long pipe and sit me down at the hearthstone. As the sweet smoke twirled, then settled, he'd tell me of his far-flung adventuring. And in that way I learned of the frozen fires of Denzinier, whose melted droplets would burn to ashes in the grasses below. Or of the bladed men, who had no ears but had knives for fingers and ate only as the sun set or rose. Perhaps my favorite was the maiden of Arista. She collected husbands like one might flint sticks, having 431 of them when at last my admirable father saw her. I remember fondly, zealously encouraging him to detail to me the backgrounds of each of these heart-captured men. From those many nights, I was confident that I understood what wonders lay beyond the hills of our home. On occasion, I would look out to the distant horizon, knowing someday I too would travel beyond it and sink away from sight. Being well versed in the myths of the land, whenever that someday arrived and I did seek out my splendor, I fully expected to be unimpressed by the marvels that awaited me. In short, I was a damn fool. We survived the dragon that day, and many other travails in the day to come as we continued on our unpalatable quest. I am unsure if I executed that correctly. I am unaccustomed to interior lavatories. There were 4 holes. I see little use in providing each and every detail of that travel. I wish there to be enough space in the tome to touch upon events that brought us ever closer to our malediction. I'm sure you did fine. There is, however, one moment that is of essential importance in understanding what came after. May I inquire as to the nature of what you are doing? Are those not more holes? It occurred at, of all places, a rest station of no name that I recall. We've been traveling for almost a month, Ruthie. You don't wash your hands? And it began, as most things begin when you're dealing with Supergirl. Is that a necessity? With a moment of kindness. Come here. Okay, do this every time. You gotta put some water or whatever liquid they're offering on your palms. Just get them wet. There's usually soap. I was on one planet where they used acid because the people there grew back their skin a lot. So I'm saying just check and make sure it's soap. But usually, you're okay. Now rub them all together. You gotta get all the nooks and crannies. Mother used to make me count to Sujav out loud. If nothing else, Kryptonians are clean. Were clean. I still think of Mother when she was tough, you know? Strict. About washing and a lot of things. We used to... But that's not here nor there. So when you're done, just rinse again. Get all the soap off. Like that. Great. How does that feel? After the tragedy of your planet's destruction, did you too seek to avenge the death of your family? I cannot in truth tell you why I asked the question, and I do not feel like hazarding needless guesses. It was on my mind, and it was said, and that is enough of that. All I can give you is her answer, which rings in my elderly ears as clear today as it did in those old times. No, I didn't. I read it now on the page, ineptly laying there in ink, and I realize it wasn't her words themselves that marked it as an arresting moment. It was the tone in her voice, which I do not have the ability to recreate, and so must just tell you without the subtlety of the moment. In her response, I heard a whole life of regret. Weeks passed. We took more time at each stop, drained in body and soul as one often is near the end of an arduous crossing. After all that time on that festering machine, we were craving to stretch our legs and relieve our nostrils. Sir, if you please. The unfortunate side effect of such lingering was our inability to again secure seats next to one another, resulting in a regretful repeat of an earlier situation. I have purchased passage upon this seasoned but sturdy vessel, and it is my understanding that there is a certain amount of space that is guaranteed with said purchase. By placing your head uninvited upon my shoulder in the manner you have, you are violating this—
Shut your horrid mouth, you filthy child. If this space were yours, then I could not take it. I need to rest, and I shall rest where I need to.
I don't reckon it is proper—
Your misbehavior has gone on too.
I was by that time quite aware of Supergirl's legendary dynamism, but though we had been companions those many weeks, due to our proximity to the Red Suns, I had yet to witness the actual application of her powers. I mark this, then, as the first time I saw her in full bloom. However, in all honesty, I cannot testify that I saw anything exactly, despite my eyes being keenly pointed in the direction of the incident. All I knew is that first there was a botheration, then there was Supergirl, then everything was peaceful once again. Having overcome many obstacles large and small, we finally approached the planet Koran, our terminal stop. Naturally, my thoughts turned to the origin of our expedition. On her 21st birthday, Supergirl and her dog had flown to Koran, the last world with a yellow sun before you entered my particular corner of the universe. Once there, she secured a rather extravagant personal rocket that took them the rest of the way, knowing that their powers would wane as they traveled. Her plan then was to spend a jaunty day of celebration on my homeworld, board her rocket and return here, and fly home with her dog. Then she met Krem of the Yellow Hills, the recreant who had killed my kind-hearted father in an empty field. And Krem did as Krem does. Without honor or warning, he shot her and the dog full of arrows and hijacked her ship, leaving her wounded, stranded, and impotent. For most, I believe that would have been the end of the story. Most would have died in the field, conceding both self and serenity. I consider myself to be as stubborn a creature as ever farmed a rock, And I do think that in her place, I would have lain down and accepted the terrors of fate. But that is not what Supergirl did. Instead, bloodied and limping, she rose from the grass and went on. Checking on me, seeing I was wounded in the head, she put me over one shoulder and put her pup over the other. She carried us to the pier of that trifling island, put us in a boat, and rowed us all the way to the far shore. I will remember to my death day the red drip dripping as she drove the oars back and forth through the crystal waves. Somehow, she got us to a talented mender and insisted we receive care before she did. Then she passed out on the stone ground. She came to a week later and was informed that both she and I had recovered to admirable form. The pup, however, was very near death, and the mender said the time had come to put the good creature down. The mender explained that there had been hunting poison on the arrows. It didn't affect people too bad, but it was killing the animal. He could save the pup, but he would need a hefty sample of the original poison, for each hunter mixed it differently. As Krem of the Yellow Hills was nowhere to be found, the animal was lost. Do you see the ship? Later, I was by her side as she stroked the sick dog's face. I saw her tears fall. She said in the chaos of it all, she could not even remember Krem. She asked me if I could recognize him, even if he was wearing something different. I said I could. With her hand on her pup, she looked up at the sky, at the infinite distance separating her from the evils of that man. She stayed looking for a moment, then turned her attention to me. She asked if I was still determined to track down the murderer of my dear father and kill him dead. I said I was and always would be. She asked if I was still offering a fine sword for aid in that mission. I again gave indication that this was still the case. I see everything. And at that point, Supergirl accepted the offer. We had been on Koron for some 3 weeks, doggedly pursuing every lead in our pursuit of the contemptible Krem of the Yellow Hills, when we arrived finally in Maypole. Compared to the mammoth cities we had toured, Maypole was at that time modest, calm, and quiet. Excuse me, sir? I am of course aware of the startled jolt such a statement may provoke in any reader, given Maypole's now almost legendary infamous reputation. Sir, but to understand the story and the actions of those persons contained herein, one must suspend today's prejudice and turn one's mind back to that long ago moment. Days before Supergirl uncovered the horror, I said, "Excuse me."
Our restroom is unfortunately currently closed for repairs. If it's an emergency, you can do what we've been doing and just use Judge Jenkins' quarters, which are down the block 2 houses on your right. Knock and Kathy will let you in. Thank you and have a pleasant day.
No, I'm sorry. I think you misunderstand. We've been looking for a man named Krem, an off-worlder like us. We found planetary records indicating that he was arrested in this town a month or so back. We're wondering if you might know where he is.
Oh, I see. What was that name again?
It is Krem of the Yellow Hills, a snake of a man who killed my much-venerated father and fled to this planet in an attempt to avoid swift and ultimate justice.
Well, I can't say we've had any off-worlders here in the last month. I'd hazard those planetary records were mistaken, as is too often the case. Thank you and have a pleasant day.
Maybe there are some records you have that we could look at that might point us in the right direction. He may have used a fake name or disguise.
Oh, damn it all, now look what you made me! Look, girls, I have answered your questions and in fact provided more information than was required in terms of the current state of our restroom. As you can see, I am at the moment engaged in matters that are not of your concern, and I would ask that you take your leave and have a pleasant day.
I have seen it asserted elsewhere that Supergirl was a woman of infinite patience, the type who took the world as it was and waited peacefully for it to better itself. Having spent a goodly amount of time in her presence, I must say, this was not my experience. In my opinion, which though largely unearned I feel is not without value, just because one lawman does not recall an incident does not erase said incident from the record of the community at large. He remembers. He was lying. Oh, did you use your superpowers to assess the beat of his heart? No, it's not, like that easy, sadly. The physiology here is complex. It'd take me a while to be able to get it down enough to see when it's off. It's just, he was an ass, and I've met a lot of asses through the years, enough to know asses lie.
Welcome to Maypole. We are happy as peach pie to have you. I'm going to put you two in 7B, which is one of my personal favorites. We had a Thanagarian general visit us once, and he commented that the bed in 7B was more comfortable than the nest he'd been raised in.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Where do I sign here? There's 2 columns. Am I a purple or a blue?
Oh, you just put your little name down there under blue. I think all off-worlders are blue. Like my mama always said, to be purple, you got to be purple.
Looks like you haven't had anyone sign in the purples in a while.
Oh, yeah. Used to have a bunch of them here. Not in 7B, mind you. Don't worry, but they was always very friendly, very courteous. But yes, there haven't been any lately, You just sign there under blue, darling. That'll be fine.
Why do they stop coming? I will admit to you that this many decades on, it has been a rare day that has passed by when I have not pondered the words of that woman.
Well, my dear,
happy as peach pie.
If you want the room, you got to fucking sign. That's the law. Ain't no law says we got to have ourselves a useful conversation.
In my long and peripatetic life, I admit to having set my feet on the sod of countless planets, and on each of them, time and occasion permitting, I have undertaken to find their particular version of peach pie. And I can't honestly claim to have found one that I thought was happy. That night we went to the roof of the Maypole bed and breakfast and spent an hour or so looking out over that cozy town. We watched a grocer closing shop and heading home to his wife, a young lad on a corner, hollering on and on, trying to peddle his newspapers to the passing crowd. A family of 4 arriving at a diner, greeting the waitress with a hug and a joke before taking a table they seemed to believe was theirs by birth. A mother holding the hand of her beloved child as they sauntered across the street at a slow and unsteady pace, waving to the waiting cars, whose drivers enthusiastically waved back. My impression was that it was on the whole an agreeable town full of agreeable people, trying as all folk try, to make their way through life without causing too much harm. I can see everyone. Which just goes to show, any of them Crim of the Yellow Hills? No, everyone is blue. How little you can see from the roof of the Maypole bed and breakfast. The next morning, we decided not to eat the innkeeper's meal, and instead found morning feast at the local diner. I saw you didn't sleep much either. What? I woke up a few times. I was tossing and there you were. You were up. You worried about something? Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Waitress?
Yes, miss. You need something?
That welcome sign above the counter. It's been repainted recently, like the fountains I saw out on Main. I looked underneath the paint. It says no purples. Why no purples? Why paint over it? I don't get it.
You going to order something? I got customers.
I'm asking about the sign.
I heard you, and I'm asking about your order. Maybe you should focus on that and then get on your way. We all know about you. Whole galaxy does. You destroyed your planet. Don't come up here trying to foul up ours.
We spent the rest of the day walking about town, talking to anyone willing to talk, asking them the same question. Have you seen the man Krem? And all of them giving the same answer. No, everything here is just as everything's always been. Everything is nice and clean and perfect. And blue. We're all blue. We've always been blue. Now stop asking questions, because there's nothing else to say. Wake up, Ruthie. Supergirl, what's shh? They're close. I stayed with neither shame nor pride that despite Supergirl's encouraging, I could not help but scream. Gentleman Death was not an uncommon visitor on the plains, and we were taught from weaning not to dread his presence at our table. As with all guests, we were to treat him with the utmost respect, granting him the privileges and customs we'd proffer to any member of our family. In the years preceding my birth, 3 of my siblings passed before they saw first son, and I recall with great clarity my mother insisting that she never shed a tear at their loss. She would say without a snip of regret, "It would be rude to bawl in front of the gentleman, and I do not care for rudeness." In that moment, many miles from home, as I listened to each bullet plink off Supergirl's back, I knew full well that were it not for this long-ago ruin of a green planet, I would be waste on the floor. And I howled not out of fear, but in recognition at the vicissitudes of the universe that conspires both to kill us and to keep us safe from harm. And I do believe that the gentleman heard that howl for what it was, and smiled knowingly as he left the room. After some time, the shooting finished. Supergirl looked me over, and for the first but tragically not last time, I felt the firm tingle that comes when someone's x-raying you with their eyes. When she was satisfied as to my well-being, she placed me in a closet and asked me to swear upon the gods above and below that I'd abide there until she returned. I agreed. She nodded, and then she was gone.
I am not going over this again. I am the mayor of Maypole, not your personal information service. You need to get it through that pretty little head of yours. I have told you all you are required to know. I answer to my voters, not to some Supergirl, which I am well informed is not your actual name and is actually an alias of some sort.
Sir,
we are grateful that you caught the man who allegedly attacked you. Thank you oh so very much. But this happens to be our planet and our town. It is consequently then our responsibility to question these men and determine the veracity of the serious allegations you have made.
sir, if
You have come into this town and caused disruption. Do you understand that? Do you get it? Disruption! For you to demand that everyone act as if you are the Princess of Maypole is not only foolish, it is perhaps dangerous. Maybe if you would watch yourself more closely, we could have avoided all this needless conflict we have here.
Sir,
And you continue to...
I'm done waiting. I'm done with you. I'm done with this damn town. You tried to scare me off because you're dumb as dirt. So now I know. You're hiding something. I'm going to find it.
Dog...
And my name is Supergirl.
Disruption and violation. That's a violation, do you know that? A violation of our laws. I can have you arrested.
No, you can't. But you're welcome to damn try. Up to that time, we had traveled by what would be considered ordinary means, be it the Hull ferry to get to Coron, the various automobiles and trains available on the planet, or just strolling the streets there. Here, it'll be easier. Now I was aware that once we reached Yellowed Suns, Supergirl had at her disposal a faster way to traverse these distances. Now, get on board, just like a piggyback ride. You know piggyback? No, I don't think I do. I had asked her about why she was perambulating when she might be soaring, and she dismissed it as a preference. It's not hard. Just wrap your hands around my shoulders or my neck, and then just put your knees around my hips. Like that. Good. It was not until Maypole that I learned her true reasoning, when she apologized, saying she needed to fly but could not leave me alone for fear of another strike. How's that feel? All right, I guess. She knew I'd spent my days solidly on the ground and did not want me needlessly frightened, but there was no other choice. I'm going to hold my hands here, and these hands can turn coal into diamonds, so they're not going to let go. I'm going to keep you safe. You see, all that time, she was worried about me. For hours, we circled slowly around the perimeter of Maypole. Supergirl kept quiet as she scanned the ground. I did not know what she sought, and I did not ask. A woman has a right to her quiet as far as I'm concerned. Finally, she landed. Without a word, she started digging. Her limbs moved with such celerity. They produced fervent gusts of wind and muck that almost knocked me to my knees. She stopped when she found the sign. She stopped again when she found the bodies.
You hear about the mayor's desk? He just let that little Krypton shit... Oh!
Talk.
You have no right!
Not so long before we drove in, there were two kinds of people who lived in Maypole, the purples and the blues. The blues, who were wealthier and more abundant, considered the purples to be less than, and limited their comings and goings in an unjust manner. As a part of this treatment, the Blues forced the Purples to live in substandard housing located just outside of Maypole proper, a small village they labeled Purple Town. This was the state of affairs when the Brigands arrived. I am sure most of you know of the dastardly reputation of Barbin's Brigands, so I will not waste your time cataloging their long history of Holocaust, but for the young and ignorant, allow me quickly to summarize their methods. They are an unholy gathering of men who enjoy the slaughter of others with every breath they're allowed, and they go from planet to planet, enjoying themselves. As killing can be costly, what with the need for fuel and weaponry, they traditionally do offer a way out. They will accept remuneration in exchange for them overlooking one city and moving on to another. The price for such mercy, however, is unsurprisingly steep. Too steep for even the Blues, who, when the Brigands came for Maypole, could not afford its salvation and thus faced unspeakable terror. A dilemma the authorities lamented in the jailhouse, within earshot of the bastard, Krem of the Yellow Hills, who was passing through Maypole at that time and was being held on a charge of drunken misconduct. To the shock of no man, woman, or child, the dastardly Krem offered them a solution surely born in the soul of the three devils. Knowing his ashes would lie in the ground along with theirs, he wiggled and weaseled until they took him seriously enough. How much could they pay, he asked. Could they pay some, he asked. And if they could pay some, then were they willing to make a deal, he asked. Perhaps he said they could offer the Brigands a compromise, some money and some enjoyment. The authorities recognized the practicality of the Rapscallions' counsel, and indeed a deal was made, which was to the satisfaction of both parties. After the loathsome deed was carried out, Krem of the Yellow Hills was released and even feted. In the course of this celebration, the Brigands learned of Krem's undisputable depravity and were nothing but impressed. Recognizing themselves in this sly off-worlder, they offered Krem passage on their ship and the honor of participation in their further genocidal adventures. I was not born naive, nor have I ever taken comfort in the practice of naivety. From the moment I tasted this life's air, I was cognizant that evil was extant, that it was waiting and willing. But in that street that day in that small town, having heard that story, I was indeed sideswiped. For that day I learned the truth of all things. I cannot fathom it. These people are so... They live their lives so kindly. You saw them. They have families. They have... Just as every man has two faces, so does every place. And you can spend your days knowing just where you are and still be hopelessly lost. All those dead and Krem just got away. How can... It's too big. We're too small. And here I will end the story of Supergirl and Maypole. I was the youngest in my family, and so did not have the experience of many girls of my age who must endure the co-mothering of their budding siblings. Now, there were cousins who were born after me, and I'd go along on the visits and watch the cooing and carping of all the other kinswomen. But the plains are a desolate country full of vast and lonely spaces, where each family must fend for itself, and such visits were infrequent, and frankly, a mite tedious. Come here, sweetie. All of which is to explain why, seeing that babe screaming something awful, sitting in the hard dirt on Parnot, I was seized with fear and could not guess at what to do next. Don't you worry anymore. It was fortunate that Supergirl did not suffer from similar paralysis. It's going to be okay. We were then in pursuit of Krem of the Yellow Hills, the underhanded king's agent who had killed my treasured father as the sun set over our rock farm. Krem had allied himself with Barbin's Brigands, a wicked gathering of wicked men that went from place to place earning money off the carnage they wrought. We had traced the aftermath of their butchery across light years to this planet on the edge of the Kahlo system. It was only the beginning of the long and bloody trail we were to walk in the months that followed. After Parnot, we traveled on to Inculm, a small moon that circles the planet Escom in the Piatz galaxy.
Yeah, I think I seen your man. It was after the start of it. Some brigand had just bombed a hive center and me and Flarg were running. Flarg was a real good runner. He could run mighty fast. I'd need a head start to beat him in any race.
Flarg and me went back. He was like houndmates, you know, closer than anyone. He was a good guy, Flarg. Real good runner. My apologies, I said that, didn't I? I repeat myself too much. As my body has slipped, so has my mind. Anyway, after we saw what they were doing, the guns and the bombs and all of that, after that we was running, not even thinking of where to go, just going zigging and zagging, hoping nothing bad hit us or fell on us or anything. And we come right to this fellow. That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. You think this guy you ran into is the creme we're talking about?
Well, I can't say for 100%, but he matches what you all told me in terms of his face and sword and all of them kind of details. But I've been wrong before. I've been wrong so many times. So maybe I'm wrong here. I'm not saying I know it for sure. Hell, I hope to God I'm wrong again here, if you understand. I hope your man is plenty different from the man I met. I hope your man ain't like that man. I hope your man has some mercy left in him. I hope that of all men. He went at Flarg right off, didn't even stop for a warning or nothing, just stabbed him through while we was standing there gawking. He was a real good man, Flarg. We'd been through so much, like houndmates, you know, and when you've been through that, a sword through him feels like a sword through you. Oh, yeah. After Flarg was on the ground, this fellow who could be your fellow, he started hacking at me. At first, I didn't feel nothing. I was mostly focused on Flarg, who was just carrying on like you wouldn't believe. Flarg wasn't very loud most of the time. I remember a lot of times people would ask me what he was saying because he was talking so soft. But then at that time he was yelling, and that was my honest thought. I was thinking, dang, that's pretty loud, Flarg. Didn't know you had it in you. You know, at some point I think Flarg must have passed and stopped screaming, but I didn't recognize it at first. See, I'd started my own crying out by that time, and I got it confused with his, and I was truly a bit startled when I realized I was listening to myself. Anyhow, that was something. I hope my story helps. I do appreciate you coming here. It's real nice. They got nurses to do this, but it's crowded with so many of us hurt folk. Sometimes I got to wait hours to eat. If Flarg were here, he would have helped me, I think. He was a good friend, Flarg, like houndmates.
A week or so after that, we made our way to Tillouise, which I was reliably informed was a sometimes secret vacation destination of one of the Royal Galactic family. I know you are asking, and therefore I'll do some answering. I cannot remember which one it was, and I would tell if I did. Though I have spent much time in their company, I do not care for the pomp of royalty, and I have no need to keep their confidence. I can say that whichever spoiled tyrannicals they were not there when we arrived. How many have you done? We did not find very many people of any sort on Toulouse. Oh, I'd say a few dozen. Not too many, but more than I thought I would by this time. Making some progress. Land here digs good. Thankful for that. How many do you have to go? Maybe a couple hundred, maybe more. We didn't get hit harder by them damn brigands than most. Fortunate for that. Maya told me if I can get them done before suns pass, they won't need a mass grave like other planets got. And my daughter's... she's out there, somewhere, cut up. And I'd prefer her to have her own slice of land, even if I don't know which it is. Sir, will you let me help? Oh, that's awful nice of you, but it's probably my duty as a citizen of this world. Just what I got to do. It's like anything, isn't it? Ain't nothing to do but get it done. Sure, yeah, I get it. We all have our duties, and it's mine as a neighbor to do what I can to help you with yours. Please. Well, I see your point, and to be honest, my back could use the respite. Maybe it'll help me go faster in the long run, which is worth something, I think. Anyway, Sun's Pass can come up quick on you, no doubt about that. Which is to say, thank you. I would indeed very much appreciate your aid in this matter.
I didn't see much of what next occurred, just a striking streak of blue and red crisscrossing the horizon. Well, ain't that something? Yes, sir, it surely is. I did as well as I could, but I'd appreciate you taking a look to make sure I did it right. I make mistakes. Just let me know and I can fix it. Also, I used my vision to look at your DNA and found your daughter's remains. I can take you to her plot now, or when you're done looking it over. Whatever works. Yeah, suppose we make sure the rest are set right, then go to her. Thank you, neighbor.
Hit me. You are small. I am large. It will hurt.
No, it won't. I swear, I'll be fine. You just pretend I'm these brigands. I did all this to you and your family. Just picture that and hit me.
Why should I do this?
Why? Are you scared? Is that it? Come on, hit me!
I am not scared. You do not understand. You are small. I am large.
You're not large. If you were large, you would have stopped them. All you are is damn small.
No!
That's it? I thought you...
No!
No, that's not it. You got to...
Oh.
Next, we traveled to Uralon, a planet not often visited, for though they carry a vaulted reputation as brutal soldiers, Uralanians, on the whole, are a reticent people who keep their own company. There we met a woman named Irasan, who had lost her family in the brigand raid. She had been in another galaxy in battle with the Pix when the attack happened. She returned home to ashes and loss. Irasan's greatest heartbreak was that as much as she tried and tried, she was unable to mourn her dead. The emotions of the moment seemed captured in her bosom, and she feared that was where they would forever remain. I'm not going to go over it again. It's a no. You can't. I am not some innocent with eyes moistened by the morning dew. I am the one who discovered my father's wrecked body. I will not then turn my back to the gore of his killer for fear of blushing. It is my right. What right? What are you talking about? I am trying to save someone. I am trying to save my dog. You don't have to see this, and I do. And if you don't have to, you won't. That's the end of it. We both have our missions. My vengeance is not lesser than your nobility! No one should. Just no, okay? No is the answer. That doesn't make any sense! If you could suffer it, I can damn well suffer it! The next world we went to was Turcom, which is not well known, and I would not care to visit again. Memories of navigating the lava forest there still appear in my dreams on days when my anxiety becomes particularly acute. Perhaps because of the monstrosity of their landscape, the people of this planet were determined to document the happenings outside of their shelters. They kept detailed records of all the goings-on that would put even my fastidious mother, who catalogued every pebble of import and export, to shame. Thus, when Supergirl and I inquired, they told us they had tapes of the brigands' actions, and we were free to watch what had occurred. Up to that point, we had only witnessed the after effects of their massacres. And I was eager, as all young ones are, to see if the terror of my imagination, of what I assumed had happened, matched the truth of what had actually been executed, so to speak. I'm sorry, I fell asleep. You were taking some time. How long's it been? Did you see him? Supergirl? I'm sorry. What? You all right? Did you see it? Was he there? Krem? Yeah, he was. I saw it. All of it.
Have you got last words?
I got some.
All right, let's hear it.
I just want to say, before you all caught me, I'd be lying if I didn't say I had a bunch of fun. So thank you all for that.
I am in your debt. All right, that it?
I'm done, is what it is.
Long live the brigands of...
Sometime later, we traced the brigands to Yala, a planet in the Vex system. The denizens of Yala are known for their pottery, which is a shade of red only found in that tiny corner of the universe. I know he surely deserved his fate, but I had some thought you'd save him. Regretfully, I did not see any of their renowned earthenware while I was there. Perhaps someday I will return and purchase some for my home.
Did you?
Next, we found ourselves on the planet Ekvik, which carries the reputation of being one of the most beautiful places in the universe. The monks of Ekvik sat still when the brigands came.
I have to go. I can't. I'm going to scream. I can't scream here. No.
They chanted to their gods.
When I scream, I'll be... It's too much. It will break. Everything that's left will break. I can't be here.
And the invaders fell on them like rain. What I write next, I write based on my observations in those long ago days at the side of the greatest warrior in the history of this august reality we all call home. It is important to note that my assertions do not rely on anything Supergirl said. It was not a subject we ever discussed or even approached, but nonetheless I believe it to be as true as the turning of worlds. You see, what is not well understood about the daughter of Krypton is that her power was not one of action, but one of restraint, endurance, and passion. She did not choose to fire a beam from her eyes, or have breath of ice, or run faster than a speeding bullet, or any of her other well-documented miracles. No, she held back her heat vision to look you in the face. She warmed her breath to converse with you. She slowed herself to walk by your side. Every moment of every day, she suppressed the forces churning inside of her. All the energy of a dead world that strained against her many barriers, eternally demanding to be released. I believe this effort hurt her. I believe she lived her life in pain. But I reiterate again, for I think it important enough to repeat, these beliefs are based on my time at her side, watching her as she moved through strife and sorrow. If you were to have asked her, I have little doubt she would have claimed that such an assertion was absurd. She would say she felt fine and well, and then she'd ask you if you needed any help. Our next stop was Nacilin. I will not write of what we witnessed there. Some tales are too sad to tell. When it was finished, we found ourselves sitting together, under the stars.
We're close. Every step we got closer, and now I'm pretty sure the next planet they'll be waiting there. So I'm sending you home.
You can't.
I've seen him now. I know how to find him, and I will. I can save Krypto. This isn't for you. I'll get a rocket and make sure you get back safe. You don't have to worry about anything.
You're just like that bounty back in that drink hole. You think nothing of me. It is my father who has been unjustly murdered. Krem of the Yellow Hills is out there living while he is not, and that needs rectifying. This is my consecrated quest, and I shall see it to its bloody end.
I'm not trying to start another argument. It's just better for you. You're too young.
You can't keep treating me like a teething toddler. You of all people. How old were you? How many years did you have when you first saw terror?
I was a girl.
You were a girl. Fine. And what then am I? I had expected our quarreling to persist, as it had done many times before and would do many times after, each of us doggedly insisting on who was properly responsible for bringing justice to this unjust life, two gravel mules fussing over which will pull the load. But that day, in stark contrast to many others, after weeks of death and desperation, I suppose Supergirl was just a touch tired. Even a gravel mule will buck on you if the load is too large. A well-treaded rock farmer knows you're better off harnessing two to the yoke than dealing with all that fuss. So instead of answering, she bent down, and I put my weight on her, and we flew off, up and away. I had not seen the criminal Krem of the Yellow Hills since he cracked me with his heel as he cowered his way onto Supergirl's rocket. And now, after many months of waiting and many galaxies traveled, here he was again, ringed by the desecrated bodies of the blameless and the innocent. As we drew nearer that day, a bile rose in my throat that I had never experienced before. Its bitter burn has haunted me from that time to this. It was the taste of the void, of going through each day, knowing in the depths of your heart and soul that this day, this moment, requires the company of your Father. And knowing in the depths of your heart and soul that you will go through this day, this moment, as you now always will, you shall be alone. However, my time in Krem's presence was brief, for just as he was in reach, he threw his Mordru globe.
What?
Not many people have had the privilege of encountering a genuine Mordru globe. They are of an odd and rare vintage. Since my own brush with the fiendish thing, I have done quite a heap of research into their origin and general use.
It's magic. I can't...
Broadly speaking, for in the practice of magic, rules slip through your fingers as often as the devil slips over your tongue. They can only be acquired through a prodigious amount of death. You see, the actual mystical ceremony used to call the globes to our plane is not particularly complicated or even interesting. Most amateurs could shuffle their way through these steps, but most amateurs lack the critical ingredient needed for completion of the ritual. For the globe to manifest the climax of said dance, one needs the dedication and desecration of thousands of bodies slain with no other purpose in mind, something not easy to snag at your local apothecary. Unlike most, though, Krem had that particular prerequisite at the ready. The reason a high bar is required for obtaining such a globe is indeed obvious. The ability to transplant the most powerful beings in the universe billions of miles from their intended destination can transform sure defeat into lauded victory. Were this method available to any and all, the proper relationship of strength to weakness in the ongoing conflict we call living would be overturned. Something that would be frowned upon by the originators of magic if you believe in such folks, as I surely do. For it would end the need for their unique services in upsetting but not negating the order of all things.
Shit.
Thus it is the rare and cursed few who have traveled inside a Mordru globe and found themselves suddenly on the other side of existence.
Ruth, you have to move. I'm going to move. I can't. I'm going to go quickly. I'll grab you. I'm losing my... I can't hold this. Not long. I'm sorry. The light.
Are you injured?
It's the sun. The sun is green.
After we got a few yards between us and the beast, Supergirl clutched onto me and we ran.
Clever boy, or Krem, using magic to get me here. I know this place.
What is it? We ran for some time.
It's called Barrington. They built it for Cal, for my cousin, Superman, to trap him. A green sun, kryptonite, and a world of monsters. God, people fucking hate Cal.
But as we ran, her feet seemed to grow heavy until she could not lift one after the other, and our progress slowed to a babe's crawl.
Don't worry, though. Once the sun sets, we can just fly out. Just gotta make it.
Soon I was forced to take her weight on my shoulder. Is that what Superman did? Waited it out?
No, he tried, but he didn't make it. He was about to. The League came and saved him. He said it was the most painful experience he'd ever... that it was the closest to death he ever got. And that's saying something after Doomsday.
Oh, well, from how the sun's dawdling, looks like we got maybe 10 hours before sunset. How long did Superman last?
Oh, I think it was about... I think he said it was about 45 minutes before they rescued him.
45 minutes?
That's what he said.
And we've got 10 hours?
So it's... 45 minutes, so 10 hours is a little more.
Fuck.
Hey, that's good. You used that just right. Proud of you. But don't tell Cal I taught it to you. He'd be judgy. Sometimes I see why people fucking hate him. This is as far as I can't.
My legs can't do it. We'll stop here. This is good. The design of the world was as simple as it was devious. Yeah, thank you. A circle of barren hills surrounding a valley with a freshwater lake at its center. I'm just gonna rest just for, my genuine instinct was to go to the lake in the hopes that the water and greens there could aid in the restoration of Supergirl's quickly fading health. It's moving now, maybe 9 hours, but I was quickly corrected. Supergirl smartly noted that the same flora that had helped her lured the monsters to its midst. The relief was simply a trap. She could survive longer without water at the edge, dealing with a few strays, than she could with it in the midst of the herd. It would be difficult, but better to endure than to die. 9 hours. That's nothing. Consequently, we walked away from the danger, and we climbed into the hills until she could go no farther. And so we found our sanctuary, a small rock cluster where we could make our stand until sunset and escape. The green rays of the sun hitting her like 1,000 poisoned needles, Supergirl laid herself down to rest. I drew my sword, and we waited for the monsters to come. Hours passed. At times she'd convulse and shout out in misery, and then apologize over and over. At times she'd keep still and whimper. Then, at times, the best times, she'd retreat to the calm of the unconscious and lie silent on the rocks. It was during one of these moments of amity that the ground let off a soft tremble, and our waiting came to an end. "You stay there, beast! This ain't no place for you! You should be made aware this is a sword of great worth, and I put forward no exaggeration when I state it will cut unmercifully deep. I warn you, you're better off not feeling the chill of its iron slitting into your own gut." Yes, it is an impressive bray, I admit as much, and hearing it now, I do indeed feel your wrath. You may take some pride in that. But I am not one who lets her fear hinder her actions. Indeed, if anything, my resolve is doubled in the knowing that I have brooked your attempt to petrify me, and have heartily withstood it. And I will take some pride in that. Ah! I cannot rightly claim that the beast had any speed or intelligence. No, it was large and lumbering, and when it struck out at me, it did so in a rather clumsy fashion. Which is to say, I am not writing in order to arrogantly portray myself as a conquering hero worthy of a triumph through at the town center, as if I were the reincarnation of poor Bess of the Aberdeens returning from the War of Walls. Still, I do say, I was no seasoned warrior. On the rock farm, I had slaughtered my share of ornery pigs, but as it is so often said, one can only learn so much from the slaughtering of ornery pigs. And the monster, despite his obvious weaknesses, was ferocious and determined. Had I not gathered my senses and found within me an instinct for survival, it would have killed me and then killed Supergirl, the savior of many worlds. So please forgive me a bit of brag in describing its downfall at my hands. I did it. It is done. You hear? Don't you worry any. Not so far to go now. That whole time, I was fortunate in finding myself in an allurement not designed for my people, and so had more pep in me than the suffering Supergirl. Still, my first fight and kill on alien land mightily strained even my natural resources, and I too fell victim to the hard push of my eyelids, and I rested. For a time. Supergirl? Supergirl! No, I lunged for my sword as the colossal brutes swooped down upon us, their unholy beaks clapping up and down as they threatened to consume us where we laid. Please. To my horror, I could not get a good hold on the weapon, for its grip had become greased with gore in my previous battle, and my fingers slipped along the now silky goatskin covering. I was a touch ignorant then, I admit. My experience with blood and blades had yet to blossom. Hey, that's a fucking bird. No, it's a plane. Or no, it's Supergirl. It was thankfully quiet for a while after that, at least in terms of beasts trying to rip their teeth through our flesh. I passed the time nursing Supergirl, who slept unsoundly, agony racking her body, shaking her dreams. I had learned my lesson and maintained my watch now with my weapon dry and at hand. I saved my own dreams for other days. Water. No, you need to rest some more. Stay still. I need, please, water. The lake. Just lie back down. Remember, if we go to the lake and there's monsters there, you'll be killed. No. Going. I need water. I'm dying. I'm going to get water. It's a trap. You're best off staying here. Those are your own words, and we ought to live by them. Little girl, can you... Get the hell out of my way. No, I'm sorry, but I do not believe I will. I move mountains. I'll move you. Oh yes, I know it, but as moving me and hiking onto that dangerous water will cost you your life, I see no reason why it should not also cost me mine. I understand if my words in this passage have provoked confusion or even indignation. All who are reading this by now understand my utter dedication to the drawn-out death of Krem of the Yellow Hills, the man who showed no mercy or kindness to my beloved father and deserved no less than what he himself had offered. And yet there I was, foolishly risking my soul and his murder to keep this young woman alive. It hurts. I need water. In truth, I have no good explanation. Your confusion and indignation are as justified as any other fine emotion that'll grab you good and hook you in hard. I was young and harebrained, and I did what I did, and so you may rightly rage. That it was successful is no excuse at all. Shit. Time passed. My dear companion grew weaker and more pained. Do you see it? Oh. I do not wish to write any more about that, for it fills me with grief to relive the hours of anguish Supergirl then suffered. That sun's going to dip any second. No more green. You'll start feeling better. It's all going to be all right. You'll be good, and you'll get up, and we'll just fly off and get back in that good hunt. Just know that she was in desperate need, and I could do nothing. We're almost there. And let us proceed to the end of it. Almost. No. As the Leviathan came suddenly upon us, and the end of everything seemed as clear as the sky after a hard rain drown, one thought repeated through me, a mantra that, as it beat on, became a prayer connecting me to all the gods of all the planets, all of those tragic spirits whose only purpose in existing is to provide hope when there is none to be had. Let the sun set, I said. Let the sun set, I pleaded. Let the sun set. Let the sun set. Come on, it's almost there. It's just got to move no more than a few hairs off a gravel mule's back. Ah! Let the sun set. After it falls, Supergirl will have her powers, at least some of them, and she'll battle back with a ferocity unmatched by even the weighted warriors of the light caves. Ah! A few slips in the sky more. That's all we need. That's all I ask for. Let the sun set. But though surely I sent my words to the ends of the cosmos, where the stars fade into poems, and those of the great beyond stare down at our comings and goings, they fell on deaf ears. Or if they were heard, they were laughed at and dismissed without consideration. Ruthie, for the sun remained stubbornly above the hills, and death was assured. And that's when I learned that far-off gods are fine for prayer, and I judge no person who seeks comfort in the infinity of the heavens. 45 minutes. But here below, when the demons come in close, you're better off just relying on the staunch will of a good woman. What a little shit. Later, that bull-headed green star finally conceded to the horizon, and Supergirl's strength returned. We had made it through the day and into the night. which I suppose is all one ever does. Nevertheless, I was, and I remain, grateful to have once again completed that barbarous journey.
In understanding binomial coagulations, we must first reverse factor infinities along hexagonal surfaces. Now, this is a 3D modeling of this problem. Of course, we will cover 4D variants in the next chapter when...
Friend, the brigands have this rule that you can spout last words if you pay for 'em. You got any money?
What?
What? Ain't that a last word? And I can't recall getting payment, which is a violation of the rule I just explained.
On the way from Barrington to Urlon, she told her story for the first and last time. I'm sure you've heard it. But you didn't ever hear it from her. She wasn't the baby who went off in the rocket.
She's here. Move! Where? Do you think I know? She can move faster than... Clem!
She was the schoolgirl who knew Krypton as home, family, and refuge.
I know you're there. I've got another module globe. You want to play this game again? Where will you go this time?
She lived in her world, and she saw it die. Hello, I'm Supergirl, and you're a creme of the Yellow Hills. You shot my fucking dog.
Ah!
As she started telling it, I asked why. Why me? Why now? She said she'd barely survived the last attempt to get Creme, and she had doubts she'd survive this next one. She just figured before she passed, someone ought to know.
What are you? It's magic, you stupid ass. Don't you fucking get it? Don't matter how super you are. No man or woman can outrun a module globe.
No man or woman. Yeah, I fucking get it. That's why I got... Alright, Comet. To the end of the universe, and a little bit farther. Fast as your feet'll take you.
Yeah!
The quakes came hard and swift as she walked home from school. She could hardly keep upright. The streets cracked, and she watched dozens of her neighbors consumed by waves of steel and crystal, screaming for help as they were dragged into the fiery depths of Krypton. She kept walking. A man called out to her. She turned, seeing someone familiar, the manager of a local solar fuel store. A chunk of rock had cleaved through his belly, and he was clutching onto his guts, trying to stuff them back in place. He told her he couldn't hold on. It was all slipping through his fingers, and he begged for her help. Could she just put her hand here? That's all. Just a little help. He fell at her feet, and there was blood on her boots. She kept walking. She passed a rocket stroller, tipped over, and she did not hear any cries from the babe who must have been inside. Maybe its mother had taken it to someplace good and safe, or maybe its pain was mercifully over and its eyes shut forever. Or maybe it was keeping still because the clatter of ruin had grown too loud and that was just its instinct in that moment. Supergirl never found out. She kept walking. Krypton had held thousands of generations safe in its bosom. Epics were written, idols were worshipped, wars were waged, children were born, dead were mourned, heroes were celebrated, stars were discovered, histories were researched, lands were conquered, families were raised. The edifices of ambition were built and destroyed and built again and destroyed again and built again and destroyed again. There was love and jealousy and hope and tears and agony and laughter. There was the view out her window in her room in her apartment. An ancient baobab tree with red and blue leaves that fell in the fall and returned in the spring. She watched the wind blow through them, watched them dance each morning. Afterward, she often thought of waking on a chilled Krypton morning, looking out her frosted window as day broke from night, and the roasted sweet smoke of newly carved hogue meat rose up to her along with her mother's impatient call, chiding her for again sleeping past first prayer. She had visited so many planets, but she never saw anything quite like that view again. red and blue leaves and the wind blowing through them. Krypton did not die in a day. The gods are not that kind. Come on, boy. Come on, just a little faster. Please. The minute chunk of the planet that held Argo City was spit out in the initial explosion. Most of the city's citizens died in the breakage, but some endured. Zor-El, a famed scientist of the city, who happened to be Supergirl's father, was able to bubble enough atmosphere for those lucky folks left on the asteroid to survive. For a while. Don't cry, sweetie. It's okay. Just, I love you. Just be good. Mother, wake up. Mother, no. Mother, don't. Please. You can't. I need you. Her mother never did wake. Eventually, Zor-El turned off the machines that were pumping her heart. As he did, Supergirl stayed by her bed and told her about the blue and red leaves that used to dance outside her window. The diagnosis was radiation poisoning. Zor-El discovered the cause. Starlight from approaching yellow suns had changed the chemical composition of the rocks carrying them. The sod beneath their feet was poisoning them. Zor-El's solution was to mass-produce lead shields and spread them over every nook and cranny of exposed land, a makeshift wall between them and the contagion. People were dying, and the task was massive. Every hand was required. By the end of the first hour, or how they defined the hours then, clinging to the twists of a now-lost world, her wrist ached and blood from broken blisters dripped down her arm. She switched hands and kept going. By the end of the first 40 hours of uninterrupted work, sleep came hard for her, and she could not keep her eyes open. She slammed her hammer into her thigh, breaking the skin there. The snap of pain woke her enough, and she gathered some more lead. By the end of the first 80 hours, the mass of helpers had conceded to exhaustion and acknowledged the impossibility of the task. Thousands of Kryptonians, the last of their planet, lay fallow throughout the rock, mourning their inevitable coming death. So she worked alone. The wall of lead was completed in 3 weeks. Of the 18,000 citizens still alive in Argo City after the destruction of Krypton, about 13,000 eventually died of kryptonite poisoning. When she was done hammering all the lead plates, Supergirl turned her attention to building crypts, including her mother's. A year went by, and she survived the best she could, keeping mostly to herself, tired of befriending the dying. They could not steer the rock, and so they floated hither and thither through the depths of space, relying on prayer and fate. She remembered the day the storm came. She heard it before she saw it, said it was actually fairly pleasant at first. There was no rain in space, and the plinking of the rocks hitting the lead reminded her of days stuck at home with nothing to do but read and look out that window, the wet on the red and blue leaves. Out her window that day, she saw the asteroids fall, the hailstones puncturing their improvised shield. She knew the radiation had come back, that those left would soon be leaving, and that was the end of her ever relying on prayer and fate. She found her father in his lab, weeping. As with many men of his generation, he was a man who frowned upon emotional expression. She had never seen him with so much as a tear in his eye before, even as they stood over her mother's body. She asked him, "Is there hope?" And he said, "There is always hope for you." They could not rebuild the shield. They did not have the resources. The radiation would come, and over the next month, everyone in Argo City who had survived the first wave would die in the second. However, during that time, before the cancer claimed him, Zor-El thought he could repurpose what was left of the lead and build a rocket. His frivolous brother had shared his plans for such a ship, and he had listened enough to those fantasies to understand the basics. It wouldn't be much of a vessel, but it'd be capable of finding a destination millions of light years from that cursed rock. Based on his calculations, given the constraints of weight, food, and water, he thought the rocket could carry a single passenger. "It will carry you," he said. "We will die,
You will live.
Why me? She asked.
You are my little girl,
He said.
and I will save you.
No, she said. What I have seen, how can I still be a little girl?
Tomorrow will come soon enough,
He said.
and I will pass, and this place will pass, and stars will fall, and suns will rise, and you will be a woman looking back on the many decades of your life, the terrors and the triumphs, and perhaps you will think of your father then, and perhaps you will remember whatever has happened, whatever pain you have ever endured. You are still my little girl.
For the next month, Zor-El pieced together the rocket, and Supergirl cared for the sick, trying to bring them comfort as the poison claimed their bodies. It was her third time watching the light of life fade around her, her third time hearing her neighbors grasp for their last breaths, her third time collecting bodies for mass burial, her third time watching her world die. She was 14.
Whoa, Comet, whoa. That's it. Good. That's enough. So, little Mordru Globe, hell of a chase. You should be proud. It's not your fault. Magic is a tricky thing. Too tricky for me sometimes. But I know this much at least. What works back there doesn't necessarily work here. All is set. You're ready.
It is said that at times a person can feel the weight of the world on their shoulders. Yes, Father. This is a metaphor, a cliché chucked about without thought to its meaning, just another way to say we are bearing some responsibility for our actions.
Well, best of luck.
But with Supergirl, it was as real as the yellow in her hair.
Remember what your mother said. Be good.
Every day of her life, she carried that dead planet with her. Yes, Father. Every day, as she walked through the many valleys of death, she felt its weight driving her into the dirt, pushing her down until she was so tired she could not think of anything but letting go, and sitting down and being buried underneath its rock and rubble. And every day, she kept on walking. Be good, her mother had said. No, ain't you afraid he has another Mordru globe?
There is always hope,
Her father said.
Not really. You can only have one at a time, and they're really hard to make. He probably didn't have the time.
So all he has is a sword and arrows.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I do not believe that is what drives her inevitably forward. 'Cause you're Supergirl. No, like many whose childhoods were ripped away from them, she is eternally searching for something. Perhaps justice, perhaps explanation, perhaps a tree outside her window, red and blue leaves and the wind that blows between them. And you don't give a shit about swords and arrows. This next section required a prodigious amount of research on my part, and I hope you will appreciate that. For up to this moment, I have been recounting my own observations from those many decades ago when I was young, and still had in me some of that good fortune and fear that all young folk carry and hide from those who say they know better, but really just know they were once satisfied to dream, and are now calcified into lives of regret and sorrow. But now I must lead you beyond my experience. Hold still, nearly there. All right, I've got it. Just a few more seconds. You're doing fine. There, it's mine. I meant ours, and you damn well know what I meant. Don't you go off grumbling. You think I ain't going to share with you. What kind of monster do you make of me? Besides, if you got it by yourself, you'd just swallow it whole, so I don't see that you got a cart to stand on. I had a pony dog growing up that was like you. He was mine to keep, and I raised him with love, kindness, and care, to the point where my noble father would sometimes chastise me for spoiling the animal, saying I would make him fat and lazy in the long run of things. Well, I decided one day I'd done enough advice ignoring, and it'd be better for the beast if I cut him off from some of his bread and butter. Don't get me wrong, I did not deny him any of his essential needs, and indeed well exceeded what any of my brothers would have provided. But still, when I approached his stable, he gave me a mighty whine and opened his eyes so wide you could swim in them. He just had the look of one who had been abused by the strap and could not take it any longer and begged for the torturer to stop. I whispered to him all the things I'd been told about his health depending on my restraint, and how his hunger was not my fault, but was indeed my gift. All the while, I was petting him softly in a way I knew he preferred. But my words meant nothing, and his face continued to fall. Looking on him, a lump was in my throat, and tears were in my eyes. See, the damn thing just didn't trust me, and I couldn't stand for that. After we'd captured Krem of the Yellow Hills, we quickly fled that pretty planet. Now, brigands are an evil people, but they have their own code of honor, and it dictates that if one of them is taken, all of them will commit to rescue. So as we flew, an army of brigands chased us aboard their infamous death ship, the Bonnie Prince Charlie. We managed a few weeks of tough travel until we came to what was then known as Florinine, but has since been rechristened Kara's Beach. On Florinine, Supergirl settled us into a narrow and sand-whipped cove that still returns to me whenever I am near a saltwater spring and I take in its particular odor. She said we could run no further, and the power of the pirates needed to be tested against her own metal. This, of course, became the celebrated Battle of Capes, which is the subject of a number of fine epic poems and quite a few shoddy ones as well. As an aside, I have always gagged at the now famous Dickwersian couplet, the yellow of her hair, the red of her lips, the wreckage and ruin of every ship. A confrontation that, due to Supergirl's overprotection, I was not allowed to witness with my own eyes, and so must describe here based on others' accounts, both what she told me and what I have gathered since in my vast readings on the subject, which has always interested me for obvious reasons. The problem is trust. That's why you're here, ain't it? I mean, whatever she's currently facing in the sky, she'd be better off if she was doing it riding a superhorse, I'd think. But instead, she leaves you here under the auspices of being my fair protector. Now, I'm not saying I ain't grateful, and I'm not even claiming to be so independent as not to require some assistance in facing an invasion of brigands. I am unafraid, but I ain't stupid. I'm just saying all that is secondary, a ruse, if you will, to hide her primary concern. For Supergirl, as you well know, is a shrewd thinker and knows the truth of each matter as well as I do. Krem of the Yellow Hills has yet to give us the secret to saving the pup, Krypto. But now, being left alone with him, there is a question of whether I have the patience to wait for this information, or whether I shall take full advantage of this rare opportunity. To kill him. I understand you may claim I am paranoid, so allow me to demonstrate Supergirl's trust in me. Now, as it stands, in about 2 seconds, I will have Krem's head. It is nothing but easy to assume that in any battle with a super whatever, be it man, girl, boy, horse, cat, dog, or monkey, an opponent armed with traditional weapons will fall soon enough. These super types, if the need arises, and it sometimes does, are capable of hauling stars from one solar system to another. Rumor has it they are faster than a speeding bullet, stronger than a locomotive, and able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Be honest, how many bounds does it take you? And so this story of Supergirl fighting a bunch of brigands and their fancy guns seems boring from the start. There's no risk in the thing. It's just a matter of waiting for power to manifest itself and good to triumph over evil. So I understand your frustration. Given the self-evident outcome, what is even the point of my continuing on this topic? Well, the truth is, and this is something you learn through a long and fitful life, no one has a monopoly on power. If the need arises and a superperson is not in the vicinity, there are other ways to haul stars from here to there. There are faster bullets. There are stronger locomotives. There are taller buildings. It is a universe of wonders and mysteries, and being born under one sun and raised under another does not mean you have mastered its limits. Others have been here long before you, and others will be here long after. They too have struggled. They too have persevered. They too can fight. So what is the point of continuing? This is the question of a fool who has never hit a man in the face, knowing that one hit won't do it, and the next thing that's going to happen is that man is going to hit you right back as hard as he damn well can, and you will taste your own blood before this day is ended. Am I at least allowed to talk with the man? For all we know, absent the intimidation of Supergirl, he is ready to confess his sins and give up the information needed for the safety of the pup. Opportunity may indeed be knocking, and I have a responsibility to answer that door. What harm can come? Are you not here? Are you not a skilled warrior, determined in his mission? Am I not but a young child out of her depth in a sea of violence and despair? Maybe he's asking for water or mercy. What would Supergirl do? Just let him gab on into cloth. Thank you. You are a super horse in more ways than one.
That you, girl? The rock farm shit!
No, it is Othan, leader of the brigands, here to rescue you from your current misery. Forgive the change in voice, but Supergirl has ripped the dear pebbles from my groin. Oh, how I miss them so.
The coarse humour of the Plainsborn, as pathetic under this sun as it is under our own.
And the steady arrogance of the King's agent. I would think being beaten and tied might provoke a modicum of humility, but to one as base as you, I suppose all lessons in loss are wasted. Oh, go swallow your oats. I wasn't going to do nothing. And so, with that unprecedented barrage, one that might have laid waste to any number of solar systems, Supergirl fell from the sky and toward the planet below. The heat of re-entry began to warm her, and, as she described it to me, there was a feeling of comfort in it. It reminded her of Krypton, of coming home after school and her father overheating the laser grill, raising the temperature in the whole apartment. She could see him dashing through the kitchen to tell her everything was all right, he'd got it under control. Just don't tell your mother when she gets home. And Supergirl would smile, knowing she'd got something from her father not many ever got. A secret. And as she continued to fall, and the flames hugged her even closer, she saw her house burn. She saw her parents burn. She saw her world burn. Until all she had left was that secret, and no one to whom she could tell it. And knowing that she was the only one in the whole universe who could tell the story of her father and the laser grill, she knew she could not die that day. Her life was one of trillions, but that memory was unique and needed preserving. The Bonnie Prince Charlie had taken its shot and now had to reload, and its stocks of balls powerful enough to down Supergirl were quickly dwindling, which meant as she emerged from the atmosphere, she found an empty sky waiting for her. She cut through it with ease. You will often hear it told that sound does not travel in space, and the caverns of the cosmos are filled only with silence. This, however, is a common misinterpretation, for though you and I may not be able to hear it, those with better ears can pick up the subtle vibrations of the remnants of interstellar gases and dusts. So as she plowed into that mighty ship, I imagined Supergirl enjoying the roar of its breach. She pounded through 4 floors of the vessel to emerge on the upper deck. The captain gave out a howl.
To arms! To arms!
Dozens of the most vicious men and women in the universe grasped their favored weapons in their hands and eyed her long and hard, searching for vulnerability. In the meantime, Supergirl got her feet steady and her fists clenched.
Your father wasn't anyone special, you know. I've been wandering the plains for the King's Council for years. It's fine money and I enjoy the work. Go amongst the people, talk to them, earn their trust, hear their whispers, find the loyal, punish the wicked. I had a standard way of approaching the topic. I'd tell a joke about the king, something a little bawdy. having to do with the rumors that the first prince was sired by the king's sister and not the Reverend Mother. Those who go along with the humor reveal themselves to be unknowingly awaiting eventual execution. Your father actually didn't laugh, much to his credit. Instead, he objected forcefully. He screamed at me for my rudeness on his land. He did not like the content or context and asked me to immediately apologize for the blasphemy and walk away from the home of his family. And I stood there, looking at this small man, this farmer of rocks, screaming on at me about his service to the king and my betrayal of our sacred nation. Him making demands of me, knowing nothing of my life, my sacrifices for my king, my duty so often served. I wasn't on that field anymore. Instead, I saw him in my mind's eye, years after this, bending down day after day, clearing fields of their hard seeds, and all the while imagining himself my better, because he didn't like a joke I'd told. I was lost in this vision, and when I found my way out, my sword was in his gut. So how can you be angry with me, girl? I came to your homestead to find the loyal and the wicked, and I do believe I succeeded.
I mocked Dequazia earlier, and he is due for a mocking, so I regret it not 1 ounce. But it is difficult to capture the run of the deck in stale prose. I concede the odds against her are better left to the poets. Supergirl there encountered hundreds of battle-forged warriors, men from every corner of the universe who'd spent all their years enjoying the fight and kill of war. The swords cutting at her had cut through numerous civilizations. The guns aimed at her had been put to the heads of legions of innocents. Now, understand, the brigands did not slaughter their way through galaxies without fair resistance. The best and brightest of 1,000 worlds had taken up their gauntlet and dared them to the field of combat. And there those brave challengers were defeated, and there they fell to their knees and begged for the safety of their loved ones, and there they were denied any such mercy. We are the powerful, you are the powerless. Your world is now our world. I told her once that she, who lost everything to Holocaust, must so hate these brigands who bring genocide with a smile. She considered this. I'm Supergirl. I don't hate anyone. She smiled politely, and she moved on. And I learned then that up can be down, and right can be wrong, and a lie told well can be true and good.
You expected me to beg, didn't you, hon? Oh, please, please, don't hurt me. I'll be a better man next time. I'll be so good. I'll do whatever you want. No, I know who I am, and I know what I done, and I got no patience for reform or regret. No, I do not. Your father spent his life plucking stones from dirt, and I spent mine in a similar vein, the way I see it. I broke my back yanking the weak out of this world, and I'm content in that.
I do nothing but mourn my father.
Don't fuss yourself about it. You're but a girl.
What does being a girl have to do with the price of cane in the outskirts?
Girls are needy things. You need love and does and fathers. It makes you delicate. It's not your fault, just who you are.
You're tied to a tree. Seems to me like you need a few things more than I do.
Above me is the most ruthless and powerful company of outlaws in the universe, and they are dedicated to securing my freedom. And should odds defy them, and they falter in their mission, I will be left to the gentle care of the kind and ever-forgiving Supergirl of Earth. So you see, child, I don't need nothing but time.
She'd taken on a barrage that would have brought down galaxies. She'd fallen and risen again. She'd crashed into the greatest mercenaries in the universe. And she'd lost. They had acquired a small amount of kryptonite for just such an occasion, enough for the chains and for one bullet.
Now, that is unexpected.
Kryptonite is rare, but the rich can find the rare.
No, you can't. Please, just don't.
And so, on the deck of the Bonnie Prince Charlie, above a utopian planet, Supergirl found herself chained and on the brink of demise.
You hear that? In all your travels has a song sounded sweeter. We have heard it from widows and emperors, but never would I have thought I'd hear the mighty Supergirl begging.
But here's the thing about Supergirl, something often misunderstood when scholars now compare her to other heroes of her era.
You hear me? I'm fine. She needs you. Don't stay, please.
Her power was great, greater than you can imagine, but it was not just measured in terms of the pool of her muscle, the cool of her breath, and the heat of her eyes.
What?
No, her power also derived from a whole life dedicated to kindness, from day after day defending others from the wicked, and thereby earning their loyalty.
I'm serious, Comet. Don't you fucking dare.
So that she did not often walk alone.
Comet?
What is it?
That does not sound like a whale animal. Did he break a leg? Do you require assistance in putting him down? For I shall be first to volunteer.
Have you ever known when to seal your lips?
Well, you're the little shit who took my gag off. Who really is to blame?
What is it, boy? Is it Supergirl? Does she... Yes, she's in that much trouble, ain't she? And you got to get up there and help her, don't you? Me? You staying for me? No, don't you do that. Don't make her trouble mine. You think that's what she wants? I got enough death on my hands. She's not going to put that burden on me. Not Supergirl. Go, all right? You hear? You get, horse! You hear me? Get! You don't got to worry about me. You got to trust me, damn it! Listen, damn you, horse! I swear, all right? I swear on my daddy's grave. You go, and I will not violate that trust. I said enough to convince him, and he backed away and took to the sky, leaving me with Krem of the Yellow Hills, the dastardly king's agent who had killed my honored father on his own land. I had traveled the stars, searching for this dullard, and now there was nothing left between us besides the word I'd given to a horse. Now, you ever lied to a horse before? If you ain't had that experience, I do have some obligation to warn you. It can guilt you something awful, but you get over it soon enough.
Do it. Hell, enjoy it. You won't have much joy after, so you might as well. When the brigands come to avenge me, you can cling to this moment. Oh, I know you'll run, and they'll look for you, like you looked for me. And they're not as good as you. Could be they won't find you. Though they know where I'm from, probably the first place they'll look. And they'll get to your family on that ass rock farm. Ask them some firm questions in an impolite manner. Supergirl can't protect everyone forever. Blood's going to come.
You're a snake talking snake talk. Ain't nothing more to it than that.
Fine then. Have it the way you prefer. No more talk. Snake or otherwise.
No, it just don't seem fair. Here I've been criticizing you these many months for killing my faithful father when he was unready and unarmed. And yet, here I am, doing just the same as you done. I realize that there is a moral ocean between you and him, but that don't make it all right for me to just slice you open as I would a tied pig. I am a soldier at war with you, not an executioner passing judgment. No, I do believe it is more proper that you face your final moments on equal footing with your accuser. My father raised me with manners, and I shall practice them. This will be done as it should always have been done. Thus, when Gentleman Death comes for you, you may bow your head and point toward your killer and say in all honesty, I have met my better, and this is her.
What a shite proposal, if I do say. That's your fair fight. You with a blade, me with my fingers.
You are a man of many years and battles, a king's agent, trained in the profound arts of combat and swordplay, and I am a girl, plain raised. Now as I am saying it, I indeed hear the legitimacy of your objection. I suppose I do see how that is markedly inequitable, and there it is, the weapon between each of us with equal access to death. Well, have we not waited long enough, Krem of the Yellow Hills? Is not our time now? I had traveled the stars in the company of the universe's paramount warrior. Throughout that time, I had kept my eyes open and learned much. For instance, an opponent robbed of their feet is worth the loss of a weapon. All the more so if you can then deprive them of their sight.
Ah!
Also, once a weakness has been exploited, do not hesitate to keep exploiting it until your opponent has come up with a proper defense, however long that might take. That said, he still had his advantages, by which I mean he was large and I was small.
You stupid whore.
But size and power do not dictate the outcomes of conflict. Battles are not won by measuring sticks and scales. No, at some point, flesh must meet flesh. And only then can we determine what matters and what does not. For instance, doesn't matter his current girth. You kick a man enough in the face, he starts to lose a sense of the up and the down of things. Only reality he really understands is he don't want to be kicked in the face no more. I am not a cruel person by instinct, though I will get there if you let me. On this occasion, I had some measure of pity and stopped with the booting. So instead, I took his forearm in my teeth and began to clamp down. At first, there was some resistance from his skin and bone. But eventually, I got through enough to get the effect I so hungrily sought out.
Ah!
And the sword was mine once again. Finally, all was set. I'd practiced this speech for the last months, and the words came easy. When I was but little, my father took me on his knee. He explained that the world was rough and merciless. Every fall he rose and sowed the fields with pebbles. Every spring he rose and reaped the stones. It was back-aching work, and it just was enough to survive. And the years fell away in a blur of misery and monotony.
You shite! Ah!
At the shut of the day, his soul weary, he would wonder what made him go on. Was not the tranquil rest of death preferable to the crushing chore of life? He fantasized of the boulders on the hill above our house, growing so large that they'd overcome the dirt beneath them and rumble down upon his body. It would be quick, and it would be done.
Ah!
He told me this with no humor. I do not believe I'd yet grown all the teeth in my mouth. Then he explained to me in blunt words that despite the plentiful hardships, life was indeed worth the effort.
Your father?
He said, at sun's end in his own bedchamber, as he laid himself down and wrapped his arms around his dear wife, he closed his eyes, and before the dreams tugged him away, he saw an image.
He was just...
He saw me. He said, me. First being born, then being held, then growing tall and strong.
Your father was just another man on a farm.
And for him, that was enough. Hell, he said, that was plenty.
Nothing special about him at all.
Then I was done talking, and the moment had come. I had crossed these 100,000 galaxies with nothing in my heart but hate, bile, and resolve. The blade was in my hand, and I guided it down to its natural conclusion. But I did not complete the cut.
What?
I tried again. For my father! And again, My father, Krem of the Yellow Hills, killer of my darling. And again, Father! And again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. My father! What's wrong with me? Why can't I kill you?
I don't know. Maybe you just need a little help.
Who?
That was Comet. He was a man. He was cursed to be in the body of a horse. It's complicated. He didn't like to tell people about it. He told me because he loved... It doesn't matter. It's complicated. But I knew. But he saved... It's going to be okay. The brigands are in retreat now. They took a good beating and they ran. I'll follow them later. Now I have to... We're at the end. Aren't we?
You're all going to... They're going to come for you from all the planets. They're going to slaughter you, and you're going to hurt, and... You slay me, you're all going to...
What about Crypto? We can't kill Krem, right? Only... He's the only one who knows about the poison, so we can save him.
Crypto. Oh, Crypto's fine. He's being taken care of by the veterinarian on your world. I just made up all that stuff about needing to find Krem to save him. Needing you to come with me because you knew what Krem looked like. You don't think I could have solved all those problems? Come on. I'm Supergirl.
They're just nothing. They're less than dirt. And I am a king's agent. And the brigands will come and we'll all...
I don't understand.
Because you wouldn't listen to me. I could tell you were stubborn. I know stubborn well enough.
Who are you? Going after me? You don't know it. I just... Who are you to try to be after when you're...
You weren't going to learn that killing is wrong just by me saying it. You were going to waste the rest of your life chasing this idiot, dreaming about this worthless shit. Like I would dream about Krypton. I had to show you. I took you with me, hoping you'd learn about... I don't know. Something. But you didn't learn, did you? Which makes all the sense in the world. Because I couldn't teach you. Because... I still dream of Krypton.
You're nothing. Weak and worthless.
And there was the rub of it. She'd done all this to teach me good from bad, and in the process, she'd seen enough to lose track herself. The months of witnessing the cruelty of all things had worn her down to her true self, to the girl in the rocket, fleeing into the sky.
You, boy, you've had your last words.
You can't!
And she knew it had all started with this man, his killing, and it should therefore end with him too.
Be quiet now.
And in that moment, when all was to be set aside for the righteous death of the unrighteous man, I heard my own voice, soft but solid. I learned it. Then a little louder. Supergirl! You hear me, Supergirl? You better damn hear me. Till I was surely screaming, I learned it! Back on my home, when you kept on fighting and you had no right to. Or during the travel, when you helped me to wash up after going, even in the midst of all the ruckus of that bus, you took that time. Or in that town where I saw true evil, and I felt eternally lost, and you let me lean on your shoulder, and you put an arm around me, pulling me back until I was found. All those weeks chasing the wreckage of the brigands, and all you did in each place of horror was help those who needed helping, extending to them what you'd given to me, a shoulder to lean on. And when the very sun was against you and had drawn out every last ounce of strength, you still held your arm out to evil and kept it at bay. I saw you outrun magic, just whispering into the impossible that it had no control over you, none at all. Even now, with a ship of devils above me, I felt no fear, for I knew you were amongst them, and the devils would soon fade away. Truth of it is, When my blessed father passed, I felt the good fortune afforded to the universe was now spent. If someone of his kindness and generosity could be put down with such senseless indifference, then all was chaos. And in that maelstrom of the absurd, I could be nothing but another dot of dust flung this way and that. And so, I dedicated myself to the death of Krem of the Yellow Hills, because if I must know that nothing matters, I saw no reason why that killer should remain ignorant of that essential truth. But watching you, being by your side these many days, I can't help but think that Grace did not die with my father, that there is a mighty wheel still churning in the universe moving us all forward, and it is each of our responsibility to pay respect to that fate. Worlds will live, and worlds will die, and evil will carve its name into the innocent, and good people will do good acts and suffer all the same. And everywhere girls will be born with their eyes open to the hate ahead of them, and they will wonder if their voice will be heard above the screams. And in that moment of doubt, they will learn, as I have learned, of the legend of Supergirl, who lost everything and kept on walking. Then they will settle themselves, content in their power, knowing someone out there has survived the storm. That tomorrow, when malice will make its attempt and help is begged from the heavens, there is a woman waiting. I too had the sword above him, but I could not bring myself to his wretchedness. For, as you know as well as I, whatever dreams we may have, enough killing's been done. Come now, the hours move quickly. Let us away to find punishment for this man, a grave for your horse, and company with your pup.
Ruthie, it's too big. We're too small. Ahem. Excuse me.
Stop it. You know what time it is. There ain't even sunlight yet. Can't a woman rest?
In my experience, Ruthie dear, no, I do not believe she ever can. Where do you want to do it?
There's a field not far from here. That'd be the proper place, I'd think.
Where it started?
Who's a good dog? Who's a good dog? Krypto's a good dog. You know as well as I do, there ain't no start or stop to things. There's just room there, is all.
Okay. I liked your book.
That fictitious fiddle-faddle. I'm sorry you had to waste your time on it. Don't know why I wrote the tome in the first place. I should have told what really happened if I had any guts at all. You think I'm scared of a brigand at my age? Let them come now, and I'll show them a whipping worthy of their cursed ways.
You made sure he'd stay locked up. You let me take the burden of their vengeance. You made a promise. You kept it. And I appreciate it.
What use is that to me? You appreciate everything.
So, the Phantom Zone warden said the first 100 years or so, he was very abrasive, screaming on about his trial and what was fair. But the second 100, he seemed to calm, evaluate. He got to know all his victims, like he really broke with regret. The last 100 years, he's been ideal, working hard at making up for what he'd done, like he had a different heart, like he was a different man, a better man. Just goes to show you, there's always hope.
Always hope. By the gods, girl, maybe he's changed, but you sure ain't.
Is it over?
Krem of the Yellow Hills, you served your time. You worked on your soul. You're home, and you are free.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Supergirl. I owe to you. I was gone, forever lost to me. I thought, and you came. You saved me. Oh, lords. I've thought of nothing but you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please, forgive me. I beg you, forgive me. Forgive me. Forgive me.
It's too big, she said. We're too small.
I knew they were my words said long ago at the edge of Maypole, but I could not fathom their meaning coming now from her lips, for surely she must see that nothing was outside of her reach. She did not further elaborate, and I did not ask her. Instead, she moved her sword swiftly through the air and stabbed down and through the chest of the kneeling brigand. After it was done, she returned the bloody blade to my hand. And that is where I shall end this long story of Ruthie, Supergirl, and Creme of the Yellow Hills.